Hi, I'm Dylan from Noble Records. It's the music, stupid. Not the stupid music.
Hey, it's Mazzy. Thanks, Dylan. That's Dylan from Noble Records introducing It's the Music, Stupid. This series is where I just present to you 5 albums and chat about them. Not random. I pre-planned this series. And again, the concept, if you're new here, is It's the Music, Stupid. It's a mantra to myself, really, that it's the music that makes these records what they are. Now, of course, you want a great sounding record, but it's not about the audiophilia or the pressing. You know, I may mention that as just as a sidestepping to tell you what I'm listening to here, but it's about the music, and that's what it should always be about, from my opinion. 5 records here. Some of these I've showed in the past, I know. In fact, this first one I have on a video. I don't even know in what context, but it's a very favorite album of mine, and it's from 1971. It's Delaney and Bonnie's and Friends, Motel Shot. Now, this is the original record on Atco Records, co-produced by Bruce Botnick. Bruce Botnick worked with The Doors as an engineer, and he engineered this and co-produced it. And this was actually recorded in his living room in the Hollywood Hills, I understand. Despite what people think, that it was recorded in motel rooms on the road. That's the feel they wanted to get. They wanted to get, you know, when the band and the artists, all the people, members off the road, go in their motel rooms, get together and jam and drink and smoke and do whatever they do. And that's the feel of this. So there is a very live ambient feel of being in a room, thus being in the living room in a Hollywood house up in the hills of Hollywood. Motel Shot. I love this cover. This album has their only like top 20 hit in a song called Never Ending Song of Love, written by Bramlett. And it's a real catchy song. It's the one song I've covered. But everything on this record is good. It's a rootsy album. It's a folk album. It's a soulful gospel roots album. And there's all these guests playing on it, from Graham Parsons to Joe Cocker to Leon Russell. So many others. Can I mention the names here? You got Dwayne Allman. You got Bobby Whitlock, of course. Jim Keltner. Delaney and Bonnie, of course. Dave Mason. And Carl Rattle. Played with, obviously, Derek and the Dominoes. In fact, you got 2 of the Dominoes here. An album that I got in 1971, and I am all in on Delaney and Bonnie, and even with their tempestuous volatility of Delaney Bramlett. I've spoken about that before, and in fact, I do want to show this, because this is a Run Out Groove expanded reissue of the album. And Run Out Groove was through Atco, through Rhino, through Warner's, that label that put out these special editions. And I don't think this is still available. You could probably get it. I don't know price. I don't like that they switched the cover here, but they do have the other cover listed right in there. And these great liner notes by various people, a conversation with everyone from Bruce Botnick to Bobby Whitlock, to actually some interesting quotes in here by Jacques Holzman, who signed them to Elektra Records and then got rid of them as fast as he could. Just thought that Delaney was a big motherfucking asshole and egotist. Just couldn't stand him, and that's definitely listed it in this. You have basically a whole other side of outtakes and alternate versions on here. And it's a great album if you like the album. Now, most people don't need the extra tracks in here, so I would say this is the way to go. But again, it's got that just really intimate feel of hanging out around the campfire in your living room in Hollywood, playing music and drinking wine and doing whatnot. Fantastic record. Pick it up. I don't think it's an expensive record to pick at, but Room 11. I wonder how that was chosen. I wonder if it's in the notes. I don't remember. And now from 1985, Leonard Cohen's Various Positions. This was a major change for Leonard Cohen, and he had basically hadn't done a record in a while. He retreated somewhat from making records, and he starts working on these songs, but instead of recording them with his acoustic guitar, his Spanish guitar, he used a little Casio, and it was electronically based in ways. And he put this record together. Jennifer Warnes, who had done that great Raincoat album of covers of his record, I believe that was before this. She sings all over this, background vocals, and it's a great combination. We all know Leonard Cohen used female vocals on pretty much every record he put out to some beautiful results. And Jennifer Warren and Leonard Cohen, and this just sing beautifully. Now, again, this is a different sounding record, and the president of Columbia turned it down. They wouldn't put it out. They basically thought it's not what's going on, even though when you think about it, this is the 1980s when electronic music in rock and roll and pop and disco was all over the place, and they didn't like this, especially that opening song. It's become such a classic. Dance Me to the End of Love has become one of his signature songs over the years, especially during his big comeback and then when he toured the world for the last few years after he got fucked over by his manager. Another song on here that became one of the most signature songs of, and most infamous songs, famous songs, I should say, of Leonard Cohen is Hallelujah. It's almost unnoticed when it came out on this record, and until John Cale covered it, and then Rufus Wainwright covered it, that's when it got legs and became this huge thing. What's interesting about it, there's a great documentary on the song Hallelujah. I advise you to check it out. But it's interesting how this song also has been sort of hijacked by religious groups. And it's actually a good part of the song is about sexual bondage. And usually I think that song is taken out when it's sung in the halls of God, if you will. But everything is great on here. You do hear that Casio sound throughout. And again, this was put out by Passport Records, I believe, out of Canada originally, and they distributed it. And years later, it finally, I think in 1990, it finally went back to Columbia and became a part of Leonard Cohen's full catalog. It ends with If It Be Your Will, a really, really wonderful, beautiful, again, Leonard Cohen reminds me of Nick Cave, and not sound-wise, but the two of those can be very spiritual in their music, very religious to an extent, but also a doubter in some ways of organized religion. But they both preach the gospel of their own, the sexual gospel too. They're both very sexual in their songwriting, in their description, and their lyrical content. And this is, no different than all those records too. But what a gorgeous record. This is my original copy on Passport Records. And again, as I said, it was finally issued on Columbia in 1990. But a really important transition period for Leonard Cohen and his catalog. I'm showing this because I'm kind of reevaluating again. I happen to get this Rhino Reserve issue. I do have an original. I always love this period of Fleetwood Mac. This is that sort of post Peter Green period before the Lindsey Buckingham Nicks period. And this is a wonderful album. I always twin these records together. This and Future Game are just wonderful records. This is the, I think the last record possibly that Danny Kerwin was on, and he's all over this record. Of course, Bob Welch is on it too. And it is such a pretty album. Beautiful cover. This obviously is the feel of it. Some people call this soft rock, but whatever it is, it's a beautiful, beautiful record. Now, my original record sounds wonderful. It well played over the 50 plus years, 54 years now I've had that record. And these Rhino Hi-Fis are really good. Again, I don't usually talk about pressings and things, but if you don't have this record, this is probably the best way to get it now. It's as good or nearly as good, and maybe, gives it a run for the money than the original. I think it's right in there with it. Maybe the tapes were fresher then, but this sounds excellent. Matt Luthien's would cut these records, master these records, and this is a kind of a good price point for Rhino. But if you find an original used on Reprise Records, pick it up, because this is a wonderful record. It's got the Chris McVie, the soulfulness of Chris McVie with songs like Spare Me a Little of Your Love. It's very much like a soulful Motown track. Obviously not arranged like those Motown songs, but it's got that groove. And of course, Chrissy McVie would do a lot of that throughout this period of time. But Bare Trees, the Danny Kerwin song, is stunning, and Child of Mine opens up. But the arrangements, the multiple guitar players on this, and of course that great rhythm section of Mick Fleetwood and McVie is stunning on this record. Bare Trees, and this is the Rhino Reserve, but any version, if you don't have this record, I think it's a must in the Fleetwood Mac catalog. Now this is a record that's become quite the cult record and a very rare record for original. Mine is not an original. Mine is a music on vinyl from some years ago. It goes in and out of print. I would say grab it when you can on music on vinyl. And this is from 1968. This is Begin the Millennium. This is one of those perfect sunshine pop psychedelic records, co-produced by Kurt Bochner and Keith Olsen. The Keith Olsen who would go on years later to produce the Buckingham Nicks album and the self-titled 1975 Fleetwood Mac album, amongst other things too. But this is sunshine psychedelic pop music. This is a collaboration of artists from the group Sagittarius, Millennium Ballroom, and the Music Machine. Remember Talk Talk, that song, Music Machine? And this is a wonderful record from 1968. This is apparently the second album in America from Columbia that was recorded using 16-track, the first being Bookends by Simon & Garfunkel, my favorite Simon & Garfunkel record. But this has a lot of orchestration and lush arrangements, a little politics. There's a song called It's You that gets into this whole anti-establishment thing, covering up the facts, the news of the Kennedy assassinations of obviously RFK in this year and JFK in 1963. But original copies of this go for $200 to $300 up, and you probably won't get one that sounds great because this record bombed when it came out. But it's been in print. It's been on and off in print. There is a wonderful, before I got this a while back, there is a I think it's a 3 CD set on Sony Legacy that came out 20 years ago or so that has this and all the other music around this Kurt Bochner, this Sunshine Pop thing. It has this same cover on this. But I think this is a wonderful record. And if you like that description, you like that kind of, very sunshiny Beach Boy, wonderful harmony style of 1968, in that period, I think a lot of us who were listening to the San Francisco psychedelic sounds and what was happening with the Beatles and the British bands, this might have been lightweight in comparison, lush and overproduced, and but it's become such a wonderful, cult classic. I guess that's the easiest way to describe it. But it's a great, great record. So Begin the Millennium. And lastly, a record that really crosses over genres from Spanish classical guitar to jazz, and that is the 1960 album Sketches of Spain by Miles Davis. This is co-produced and arranged, orchestrated by Gil Evans. This is one of several collaborations Miles did with Gil Evans, and this is such a beautiful record. I have a number of jazz fans that don't like this. It's almost like too classical for them. It goes more in that territory, in the classical realm, than it does, and world music, I guess, than it does straight ahead jazz, or what Miles was doing around 1960, especially the few years after Kinda Blue and what he would go on to with the first quintet, and then, of course, with the second quintet a few years later. But the key here, the Concerto de Aranjuez, hope that's my somewhat wonky Spanish pronunciation, is a guitar orchestration piece by Joaquin Rodrigo, who was a contemporary of the time in 1960. And Miles takes it and Gil takes it, adds some things, and it's really the centerpiece of this album, takes most of side one on. There's only 2 tracks on side one, that and Will o' the Wisp, and then 3 tracks on side 2. That is such a beautiful Spanish piece. Sketches of Spain is a very flamenco influence record. It crosses over with a lot of styles, of folk styles, obviously the classical Spanish guitar styles, without that guitar playing in the same way. And it's just a wonderful romantic record. It's a very, I think it's an important record, and the style of it is very different than anything at the time that Miles was doing. There'd be other jazz artists who would cross over in this realm over the years. Chick Corea, maybe, with Spanish Heart, but that's more arranged, more of a rhythm section included in that. But even Coltrane, to some extent, would do this. But this is, to me, one of the special albums. But again, it's one that it stands out in a different way. And if you're used just to the other straight ahead jazz, the quintets of Miles, or the later funkiness of Miles and the rock soul, the fusions of In a Silent Way and Bitches Brew, and the funkiness of those records, this is a calming record. This is one that you could file in your classical section as well. Modern Jazz Quartet did this with Lorinda Almeida too, with the Spanish guitar. And that was a successful, not as big as this, but that's one you can find cheap, that MJQ record, and I highly recommend that as well. But that's It's the Music Stupid, another edition. Hope you like these presentations, and thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And like and subscribe, and that does help the channel, and it makes me sleep better at night. Mazzy loves you.